Right, students, how are you? I hope you've had a very restful spring break. I'm coming at you to week 7. As we progress along in the course, things are zooming on very quickly. Can't believe we are more than at the halfway point and on the home stretch of this class. I hope you guys are starting to feel a little bit better about your writing. Before spring break, I had you working with your topics for your argument essay. And this week, I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about an argument essay and what exactly, how to begin drafting your argument essay and what exactly needs to go in your argument essay, so that you have a better idea of the requirements. I know I went over them for you in the video a couple of weeks ago before spring break, but just in case to refresh your memories, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you so that you can see exactly where we are. Give me just 1 second here. I want to make sure that I'm going home here. All right, share the screen, and we're going to go home and share that. I'm going to go into the compressed developmental writing course. You should have gotten updates for the grading that I have completed. And by the time you watch this video, I will still be in New York City. I'll be coming back on Tuesday, the 21st. So I will be out of the office on Monday and Tuesday, but I'll have my phone with me. Again, I'll be flying, so you may not be able to get in touch with me. But once I do land, I'll be able to answer any text messages during office hours. Just remember that you need to identify yourself when you text me, should you text me if you have any questions. So we're just going to click on content and go into week 7, just so you can see here. I haven't fully finished adding everything for week 7. So you see that, of course, you had your rough thesis and introduction was due on the 20th, which is today. So hopefully you'll get your rough thesis and introduction for your argument essay in. By now, you should already be beginning to draft the paper. If you haven't, then stop procrastinating and get started. I'm going to go over with you a sample argument essay. It's not perfect by any means, but it will give you an idea as to what to do. But I'm also going to go over with you the argument essay itself. So I'm just going to go ahead and open up my PowerPoint here so you can see. So just to reiterate what the argumentative essay is, it's a genre of writing that requires you to investigate a topic, collect, generate, and evaluate evidence, and establish a position on the topic in a concise manner. So when it comes to argumentative writing, a lot of people think of it as persuasive writing, but it's actually a little bit different because you are actually applying the logos, pathos, and ethos as you argue. And academically, you cannot use personal pronouns in academic writing. So this is sort of an everyday life example of when we argue. So if Bob says that was a lame movie, Susie will ask why. Bob would say, using his evidence, that the special effects were bad, the monsters were obviously fake. And Susie would offer a counterclaim and say, well, I thought it was good because the acting was believable. A bad response to that would be if Bob says, you're an idiot. A good response would be an honest refute of it, where Bob says, yes, the acting was good, but the horrible special effects were too distracting and caused some awkward moments. He gives reasoning and refutes the reasons why he felt that the movie was horrible. So that's just an everyday life example. We argue in everyday life all the time. Someone says, my favorite argument to have is Pepsi or Coke. I am a Coca-Cola girl. I cannot stand Pepsi Cola. I think it's too sweet. And I don't like it because it tastes like I'm drinking syrup. Some people prefer Pepsi. And some people say, well, Coke tastes too syrupy. So again, it really all depends on reasons, but that's more of an emotional response, but it is an everyday life example. So persuasion versus argumentation. So persuasion is the action or fact of persuading someone or of being persuaded to do or believe something. Argumentation, however, is the process of establishing a claim then proving it with the use of logical reasoning so that logos really comes into play. You have examples and research. That is probably the single most important thing that you will get out of this course, is when you write a paper, you need to be able to utilize your research and your sources. And I don't mean Wikipedia, I mean valid scholarly sources. So that's really, really important. The difference between a persuasive and argumentative essay, a lot of the times, especially for those of you that are recently out of high school, I know I have a lot of non-traditional students in this course, but if it's been a while since you've been in school, a persuasive essay makes a claim based on an opinion. Again, that's my Coke versus Pepsi argument. Doesn't take opposing ideas into account and persuades by appealing to the audience's emotion or relying on the character or credentials of the writer. It is strictly emotion-based. However, an argumentative essay makes claims based on factual evidence, so it has research to back it up. You have a counterclaim. The author has to acknowledge or take the opposing views into account. It also neutralizes or defeats serious opposing ideas and convinces the audience through the merit and rationality of the claim and proofs offered. An argument essay is almost always logically based. So that logos, remember that logos, pathos, and ethos, credibility comes into play with that. So it's very, very important that you think about that. The very first argumentative essay I ever wrote in college was on homeschool versus public or private school. And I'm one of those types of people where I like to go against sort of and challenge myself, my beliefs. And so I decided to write on whether homeschooling was effective, and I decided to argue that homeschooling was effective. And my husband was homeschooled most of his life, and he's the smartest man I know. So I'm a product of the public school system. My husband is not. And I argued against public schooling just to allow myself a chance to explore outside my comfort zone. So again, I encourage you to do that because it really does help stretch your mind and go against what you normally would argue for. So the elements of argumentation include an argument/claim. An argument states a claim and supports it with reasons and evidence from sources, and arguing your side makes you the proponent. In the case of my first argumentative essay, I argued that homeschooling was a better option for students. And this was way back in 1999. So this was a long time ago, pre-pandemic, pre-everything. And I argued that homeschool was a better option for students than public school. Why? I argued because my husband was so smart. I felt that his homeschooling had been more beneficial to him than attending the public school system. I had to do some research to back it up, and I had to make sure that my argument was effective. Nowadays, people would argue against public schooling and for homeschooling like I would, but since then there's been a global pandemic. All right, more elements of argumentation. You need a counter argument or a counterclaim. So that will stand in opposition, directly opposes what you're saying. It's your opponent's opinion and tries to explain why you are wrong. One thing I will tell you is if you do not acknowledge your counterclaim, your argument essay will be flat. It will not pass muster. It's very, very important that you acknowledge your opposition because that gives you credibility as a writer, as a scholar, and as an academic. When you refute the opposing argument, it's an important skill to have because it's how a writer successfully convinces the audience of the validity of his or her own argument. So you have to acknowledge the counterclaim and explain why the counterclaim is incorrect. So I'm going to bring the rhetorical triangle back. Again, you need to incorporate elements of ethos, pathos, and logos in there. The logos would be your reasons. And these are just questions you can ask yourself. Is my thesis statement clear and specific? Is my thesis statement supported by strong evidence? And is my argument logical and arranged in a well-reasoned order? Ethos is credibility. Have I shown that I have researched both sides of the issue? Do I respect multiple viewpoints? Are my sources credible and documented? And is my tone appropriate? One thing I will say is it is better to say it when you're researching to be formal and academic instead of getting emotional, because when you get emotional when you're writing, especially even if it's a topic that you're very passionate about, your emotion will show through and you will lose credibility. So that's very important. Pathos comes along with the values, the beliefs, and your audience. Have you used examples and details to engage your reader's emotions and imagination? Have you used examples that the reader can relate to in order to appeal to the reader's values? And is your writing tactful rather than rude? That's very, very important. So effective arguments consider all 3 points on the triangle. They help each other. And all 3 of the corners of the rhetorical triangle overlap. You can do one or all of them in a single paragraph. I'll demonstrate that and show you that here in just a few minutes. Why is organization important in argument writing? This is why I gave you so many different graphic organizers, is so you can organize the best way you feel is most comfortable for you. It guides your audience through your reasoning process. That's why the thesis statement is so important. It's a map for your reader. It offers a clear explanation of each argued point, and it demonstrates the credibility of the writer. Very, very important. As you begin to organize your argument, you need a title, you need an introduction, you need a thesis statement. Your body paragraphs, you need to have constructing of topic sentences, building the main points, countering the opposition. The umbrella graphic organizer that I gave you last week should help you tremendously as you're beginning to build your essay. But I have other ones as well that will help with arguing a point. And then your conclusion. I know a lot of you are really concerned about introductions and conclusions. But sometimes it's better to just start writing. Sometimes that's the way that essays work. Sometimes some of you just need to sit down and start writing, and then you can go back and revise after that. Week 8 is mainly based in revision, so that is something that we will look at. Why do you need a title? Your title introduces the topic of discussion to the audience, and it also generates reader interest in the argument. So it's very important that you think of something creative. You don't just title it argument paper or argument essay. It needs to have some sort of a title. So for example, my favorite Shakespeare play is Hamlet. So if I were going to write on, for example, I think one of you are writing on a Pipple ban, you could title it To Ban or Not to Ban, which is a play on Shakespeare words. That would certainly grab my attention because I love Shakespeare. So that might be an option, but you need to have a title. You have to have a title. Try to grab attention. You don't want to offer a provocative image. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of that because you don't want an image there. But you can pick up on words or examples offered in the body or the conclusion of the paper. Do not ask a question, no matter what. You never start an essay with a question. You never have a title that is a question. To be or not to be is what's known as a rhetorical question. So that one doesn't have to have a question mark. Avoid a title that's too general, like I said, one argument essay, or lack character. You want it to have some sort of something with that. So what is an introduction? Again, by now you should have already written your introduction, but just in case you haven't, it's going to acquaint the reader with the topic and your purpose of the paper without saying, today I'm going to write about, or today I'm going to tell you about. It also generates the audience interest in the topic. It also offers a plan. Tell them what you're going to tell them without telling them what you're going to tell them. So you don't want to say, today I'm going to be writing about, or today I'm going to highlight, or today I'm going to discuss. You need to keep yourself out of it and write it in third person, while at the same time staying academic. Your body is where you tell them. Remember, you're telling and showing them. And then conclusion is you're going to tell them what you told them. Methods for constructing an introduction. You could use a personal anecdote. I try to avoid using personal anecdote. That's just a fancy word for saying a personal story, because remember, you want to keep yourself out of it. So I'm just going to delete that. This needs updated. No questions at all. So we're gonna update that. You can have a shocking statistic, a striking image in words. It's very important. You don't put a picture there, you paint a picture with words. And that could be part of your example, whether it's real or hypothetical as well. Thesis statement, again, I told you this last week or the week before when I made my last video. It is the most important sentence in your paper. It lets the reader know what you're going to be discussing and answers the question, what you're trying to prove. It's not necessarily a factual statement, but it's a claim that has to be proven throughout the paper. So looking at this, which thesis statement is the most effective for an argument about the need for V-chips in television sets? So this is an argument that was a big deal back when I was a very young parent. And so this comes from one of my textbooks. Parents, often too busy to watch television shows with their families, can monitor their children's viewing habits with the aid of a V-chip. Okay. The second one is to help parents monitor their children's viewing habits. The V-chip should be a required feature for television sets sold in the US. Or the third one, this paper will describe a V-chip and examine the uses of a V-chip in American-made television sets. Well, I'm just going to use my mouse here so you can see. The third one is absolutely not okay. Ever, because this is telling the audience and what is known as announcing to the audience what you're writing about. So you want to make sure that you are absolutely 1000% creating an argument and announcing what you're going to argue about isn't necessarily the right route to go. So I would say the first one is too generalized. It doesn't really demonstrate an argument, but the second one, to help parents monitor their children's viewing habits, the V-chip should be a required feature for television sets sold in the US. That's an arguable statement. It is also a statement of opinion, and it is defensible. And that's probably the most important thing. You have to be able to defend it with evidence. So you're saying that parents need to monitor their children's viewing habits on the television, and they should have this chip inserted into a television so that parents can do so. Okay, so looking at this one, I'm just going to delete that slide. Your body paragraphs build upon the claims made in the introductory paragraph. They're going to be organized with the use of topic sentences that illustrate the main idea of each paragraph. Again, that umbrella organizer I gave you last week should help you. It offers a brief explanation of the history or recent developments of your topic within the early body paragraphs and can help the audience to become familiarized with your topic and the complexity of the issue. All the thesis statements or topics that I read and graded over the week look to be pretty good for the most part. The one that sticks out the most to me is the pit bull ban, because I have an American pit bull. So that is a topic that I'm extremely sensitive about. So most definitely that topic is an arguable topic. It's also defensible. Should pit bulls be banned is the question. And hopefully the individual is arguing that they should not be banned because they're not an aggressive breed, but that's just my own opinion, and would have to be backed up with evidence. Again, to continue body paragraphs, they can be ordered in several different ways, depending upon your topic and your purpose of your argument. It can go from general to specific, or it can go from most important to least important, or it can go from the weakest claim to the strongest claim. So there's many different ways you can argue it, and I'll show you the different graphic organizers that I've placed on week 7 for you to sort of help you begin to organize your essay. When you counter argue, you need to address the claims of the opposition because it's an important component in building a convincing argument. It demonstrates your credibility. As I said previously, you have researched multiple sides of the argument and have come to an informed decision. Sometimes when students begin writing their argument essays, they might change their mind based upon the research that they've done. And that certainly is a viable option. It also demonstrates that as a scholar, you have considered other points of view and that other points of view are valid and reasonable. So that's why you have to have a counter argument. Again, it gives you credibility, and it also helps to build you a convincing argument. So effective counter arguments, you have to consider your audience. Who are you writing to? Well, at this point in the course, you're writing to me, your instructor. However, you have to assume I'm completely ignorant on the issue. And you have to concede to some of your opposition's concern, because that demonstrates respect for their opinions. However, you have to be careful with your tone. You need to remain tactful yet firm. Using rude or depreciating language can cause your audience to reject your position without carefully considering your claims. So that's really, really important. One of the reasons why we write the complaint letter in this course is to help you build those skills at being polite, yet arguing a point. So I think that's really important. You can place your counter argument at various different locations within your body paragraphs. You can choose to build each of your main points as a contrast to your opposition, or you can offer a counter argument after you have articulated your main claims. So that means just after you've stated your main claims, you have a counter argument to each of those. So this is just sort of a picture so you can see that we're moving beyond the 5-paragraph essay. So these are 4 different models where you can utilize this. And again, as you watch this video, you can pause it, you can take a picture of this, you can write it down, however you wish to do it. Model A has a thesis statement, your pro-argument 1, pro-argument 2, pro-argument 3, and then your second to last paragraph is your counter-argument, and then your rebuttal of the argument, and then your conclusion. Model B has a thesis statement, your counter argument and rebuttal, and then your argument for it, and your conclusion. Model C has a thesis statement, and then counter argument and rebuttal, and then counter argument 2 and rebuttal, and then counter argument 3 and rebuttal, and then the conclusion. And then Model D has your thesis statement, your counter argument 1 and rebuttal, counter argument 2 and rebuttal, counter argument 3 and rebuttal, and then your argument for it, and then your conclusion. So these are just 4 different ways that you can organize your ideas into an outline, and just hopefully will help you as you begin to develop your argumentative essay. When you insert your research material can aid you in proving the claims of your argument and disproving oppositional claims. You have to use your research to support the claims made in your topic sentences to make your research work to prove your argument. This is extremely important. And I can't begin to tell you how often I see students who struggle with this area, either because they've picked a topic that's super broad. Like I believe in this course, somebody said they wanted to research the internet. That is so broad. However, if you narrow it down to, has the internet affected communication skills? That will have a much better and easier and narrower focus. So you want to integrate your research into proving the claims of your argument and disproving oppositional claims. And in week 8, I will demonstrate how to embed quotes into your research. And then be sure to use your research to support the claims made in your topic sentences. Make your research work to prove your argument. So again, very important. As you write your conclusion, you just need to re-emphasize the main points made in your paper. You can reiterate a call to action or speculate on the future of your topic, but do not raise new claims in your conclusion, and do not ask a question. Do not end your essay with a question. Do not begin your essay with a question. Questions do not belong in academic writing. If you're going to use questions, that's for 5,000 level graduate school level classes. Right now, we're just in beginning emerging writing classes, so we do not use questions at all in any way, shape, or form. You don't start off, well, do you want to know about pit bulls, or do you want to know about the internet? We don't. So we just don't use questions in academic writing. Introduction, body, conclusion. Introduction, tell them what you're going to tell them. Your body, tell them, and your conclusion, tell them what you told them. It's that simple. So just to recap, You need a title, introduction, your thesis statement, your body paragraphs, constructing topic sentences, building your main points, countering your opposition, and then your conclusion. So that's basically what an argumentative essay is. Hopefully that will help you as you begin to develop your argumentative essay. I'm going to show you a couple of different graphic organizers just so you can see. I don't know if you have looked at things, but PAPA is one of my favorite acronyms: purpose, audience, persona, and argument. So this is where ethos, pathos, and logos comes in, claim and evidence. You can also do what's known as a SIR chart. That's claim, evidence, and reasoning. And that will help you. But a PAPA graphic organizer is really helpful for when you're doing argumentative writing. I have several graphic organizers here for argumentative essays. So I'm just going to kind of show you an overview, and you can choose whichever one is best for you. And if you don't want to use any of them, you don't have to. It's just there to assist you on your journey to becoming an academic writer. So this is sort of a, I don't know why it's not. Yeah, let me just download this because it'll be easier. Hopefully it will still show. It is showing. Okay. So I'm just going to click on enable editing. You may have to download it because it doesn't always show up in the screen. But it sort of kind of helps you outline your ideas for your essay. There's your introductory paragraph, your hook, background on the issue, your claim, then your reason, list out your evidence of support, body paragraph 2, reason, list out your evidence of support, body paragraph 3, your reason 3. Definitely need to have at least 3 reasons and 1 counterclaim no matter what. And then your conclusion paragraph where you restate your main idea. And this, again, this will show you sort of persuasive devices, your pathos, your ethos, your rhetorical device. So again, you can print this out and use this. If you don't, you don't have to. It's not an assignment. You're not required to do it. I just put them there to sort of help you and assist you on your journey to writing an argumentative essay. With that being said, just going to sort of go over a little bit with you. I've got so many tabs open. This is a sample argument essay that Sally Student did for ENC 1101. I always do a diagnostic essay at the beginning of my 1101 classes. And Sally Student wrote an essay called Keep Libraries Alive. So this is really, really important that you sort of kind of look, and this is back in 2020. So you can imagine what the world was like at the time. But Sally Student wanted to argue that if you look, as online learning becomes more common and more resources are converted to digital form, some individuals have suggested that public libraries be shut down, and in their place, everyone should be given an iPad with an e-reader subscription. So Sally Student has introduced the broader focus of the topic. And then Sally Student says, proponents of this idea state that it will save local cities and towns money because libraries are expensive to maintain. They also believe it will encourage more people to read because they won't have to travel to a library to get a book. They can simply click on what they want to read and read it from wherever they are. They could also access more materials because libraries won't have to buy physical copies of books. They can simply rent out as many digital copies as they need. Okay, however, it would be a serious mistake to replace libraries with tablets. Now, Sally Student has made a grave error in this essay because Sally Student has not introduced her claim until the second paragraph. That claim needs to be in the introductory paragraph. Sally Student has given plenty of reasons as to why e-readers are a bad idea. So she started with her the rebuttal. She started with the counterclaim. And now she is telling her reasons that why it would be a serious mistake to replace libraries with tablets. And I promise you, I did not write this essay. But, you know, she uses first, and then a study done on tablet versus book reading found that people read 20 to 30% slower on tablets, retain 20% less information, and understand 10% less of what they read. So she's using statistics to prove her point. And then she's got, additionally, staring too long at a screen has been shown to cause numerous health problems. So she's, again, giving more reasoning. People who use tablets and mobile devices excessively also have a higher incidence of more serious health issues, such as fibromyalgia, shoulder and back pain, carpal tunnel syndrome, and muscle strain. Then she says, it is a proven fact that when one reads from an e-reader for too long, my eyes begin to feel tired and my neck hurts. Okay, so just so you can see that, notice how she put herself in there. That's not okay. So she says it's a proven fact. And then she says, my eyes. So that's what's known as a voice shift. And it shifts from third person to first person, and academic writing is never in first person. So she would have to edit that. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted you to see this particular essay, is because I wanted you to see that everyday average students do make mistakes. So don't expect perfection. Remember, perfection does not come overnight. It takes practice to become a solid writer. Sally Student is now one of the top writers I have, but Sally Student had to learn a couple of really hard lessons along the way, including learning how not to shift tense and point of view. Okay, so again, Sally Student. Secondly, she gives another point here, and it is incredibly narrow-minded to assume that only Service Libraries offers book lending. Okay, that goes a little bit in the aggressive territory as far as tone goes. So you want to be really careful with word choice there. Sally Student had to learn how to say it without being so aggressive. Libraries have a multitude of benefits, and many are only available if the library has a physical location. Okay. Some of these benefits include acting as a quiet study space, giving people a way to converse with their neighbors. Okay, that's kind of a oxymoron, because if it's a quiet study space, then people don't need to converse with their neighbors because they're supposed to be studying quietly. So, holding classes on a variety of topics, providing jobs, answering patron questions, and keeping the community connected. So Sally Student has a couple of very valid points in here. One neighborhood found that after a local library instituted community events such as playtimes for toddlers and parents, job fairs for teenagers, and meeting spaces for senior citizens, over a third of residents reported feeling more connected to their community. Okay, so that again is a way to justify Sally Student's opinion, but again, you still have to have citations in there. I'm not seeing any citations in this essay at all. I'm seeing a lot of great writing, some simple mistakes that can be fixed, but there's also some issues with not having citations. So whenever you quote something, paraphrase something, or summarize something, you always have to have a citation. We went over that a couple of weeks ago as well. Conclusion paragraph. While replacing libraries with tablets might seem like a simple solution, it would encourage people to spend even more time looking at digital screens despite the myriad of issues surrounding them. It would also end access to many of the benefits of libraries that people have come to rely on. In many areas, libraries are such an important part of the community network that they could never be replaced by a simple object. So Sally Student has an effective conclusion there and has restated the argument. So this is just a sample. It is under your week 7 materials if you want to read through it and look through it again. I kind of went through it pretty quickly, but it is here. Sample argument essay. So that you have that. So hopefully that has helped. Your grammar practice, as I was grading this week, one of the things I noticed, again, is we still need to work on our cohesion. And I think a lot of that is because some of you have been out of school for a long time. Or some of you just really struggle, and that could be any number of things. So I'm just gonna just show you what your weekly grammar practice is that I have. I think I've already uploaded it. So I'm going to go to assignments. I'm going to go to Dropbox and show it to you. You're going to have to scroll all the way down. And you notice here at the bottom that it says page 1 of 2. So you have to go to page 2 of 2 to find week 7. Keep that in mind, because I don't want you texting me saying I can't find the assignments. It's on page 2. So make sure you watch the video. So this is your weekly grammar practice. It's cohesion. Just so you can see, I'm going to edit the folder. here, just so you can see what it is. And I'll open it right up here for you. And basically what it is you're going to have 3 different paragraphs. These 3 paragraphs do not flow well. So you're going to improve the flow of the paragraphs by rearranging the sentences into a cohesive order. So help it make sense. And then you're going to turn that in. So that's your grammar practice for this week. And then you also have another assignment. You're going to read an article about Pero the robotic seal, and you're going to answer in a paragraph. Your paragraphs, remember, they have to be at least 150 words. And you're going to read the article about Pero the seal, and you're going to answer the question as to whether you were surprised at the way patients at Livermore responded to Pero, and why you think live dogs and robotic seals both make patients feel better, less anxious, and more talkative, and what are the pros and cons of using Pero versus a dog. So I'm going to save this on my computer just so that I don't forget that I put it there. And there we go. So that is also on your, let me save and close this, on your assignments this week. So you have weekly grammar practice, which is cohesion practice. I'm going to go back to page 1. And I'm going to go down here to your response here on Pero the seal. Let's see if I can find it. I think it's here. Paragraph response. It's due on March 26th. So that's your Pero the seal response. And it's due at 11:30. So this video will go live on March 20th. You'll have 6 days to get it completed. So please make sure you do get it completed. Just so you know, the article for Pero the seal is right down here. You'll just click on the article. It should take you straight to the article. And it gives you all the information that you got or that you need in order to answer the question. It tells you where it was. It was published on KALW Public Radio on August 17, 2015. So it's a cute little robotic seal. So you have that. Again, by now you should have your rough thesis and introduction completed, but if it's not completed, then please make sure you get it completed. I'm still screen sharing with you because I want to make sure that you do know how to operate the library. So I'm just going to go through a couple of things with you. If you click on and log in through your Panther Central, if you scroll all the way down here, you'll go to the left-hand side of the screen and you will see library resources. One of the things that I tell students to do always is to go to catalog and general searching for their topic. So I only remember a couple of the topics that I read because it was so early in the day. And I have spring break brain, so I am human. But I do remember that pit bull ban is something that one of you are planning on writing about. So I just did a quick search and I typed in pit bull ban, searched everything. Now it says there's 47 results. I'm also going to click over here on peer review journals. You can only do this on the library, and you have to have a peer review journal simply because it is so very important and establishes you as a scholar. Now, so here's an article that was published in 2022. It was published in the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health. And this is U.S. Adults' Perceptions of Dog Breed Bans, Dog Aggression and Breed-Specific Laws. So this looks like a pretty good source. And so I would just look it up and I just click on it and it takes me to sort of a little abstract that tells me a little bit about it, tells me all the information that I need. And then you can click on the full text availability here. You've got the description of the article. It tells you identifiers and it's got all the different subjects that are in here. So again, you can just click on one of these. EBSCOhost, you could do DOAJ, Directory of Open Access Journals, and that's available from 2004. So you just click on it and it'll take you to, should take you to the article. so that you're able to find it. Okay, so here we go. Here's the abstract. Here's your introduction. You can download it. You can just look at this. You can, so you can click download, save it to your computer, and then you've got that. This is a peer-reviewed scholarly source. The requirement for your essay is that you have to have at least one peer-reviewed scholarly source. And you have to have a rough draft by week 8. So please make sure that you have included at least a little bit of your sources. So again, just to go back there for you, I'm going to click out of this now, and I'm going to go here and click out of that. Go back to Panther Central, go back to Catalog and General Searching. Remember, that's at the very bottom on your Panther Central homepage. Go to the library. And if you get stuck, you can always contact the library and they can help you if you have a unique or unusual topic. So I'm just going to type in internet and communication skills and type that in. That's a very broad topic. Yeah, there's 12,000 results. Like I said, very, very broad. The internet is a very broad topic. Just going to click on peer review journals and apply the filters and see what else I get. Okay, that narrowed it down from 12,000 to 5,000. So again, you have to really look. Okay, so this is a good one. The impact of excessive internet use on communication skills and mental health. So that might be something that's interesting. So again, you really have to sort of search through to see what you can find. But this is just sort of a brief overview on how to use the library to find academic scholarly sources. I have to reiterate to you, very, very important that you use academic scholarly sources. The assignment requires at least one scholarly source. So it's very, very important that you utilize that to the best of your ability. So again, just to go over your assignments for this week, you have the response to the Peril the Seal article. You need to be working on composing your argument and drafting the argument itself, because you need a rough draft for week 8. Your grammar practice is your clarity and cohesion assignment. And take notes and make sure you watch this video. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to assist you in any way. And I hope you guys had a wonderful spring break and that it was a much needed break, and you get the opportunity and the time to rest and are ready to begin writing that argumentative essay. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'll be more than happy to assist you in any way. Again, please remember, I'm not going to have office hours on Monday and Tuesday, the 20th and the 21st, because I will be in New York, but I will return on the 21st in the evening if you need to get a hold of me. I hope you guys have a wonderful week and welcome back.